Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of At the Heart of Hope. Today, I have two very special guests with me. I have my good friend Lindsay, and I'll let you introduce our other
And
special
this is
guest.
Lillian.
Lillian's napping.
Yeah.
But today, Lindsay came on the show to talk about her journey of fostering and adoption, and I'm so excited to hear everything she has to share. So, tell me a little bit about how you decided you wanted to foster. Was that something you had always planned to do, or what led you there?
Okay, so initially, my parents started fostering, and me and my sister were both older. So I was 22, my sister was 24,
Okay.
and it just kind of happened. They started fostering a little boy by the name of JJ, and he's now my brother. He was adopted when he was 2. Um, but yeah, that's just kind of how I was introduced to it.
Okay.
And through that, me and my sister both saw a need. The need was, my parents fostered, I think, 4 children pretty long term.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, just watching them do that, it was very eye opening. And it was very sweet, like as a 22-year-old, to see your parents kind of starting over. They were in their 50s.
Oh, yeah.
And
they had made it through it and started
right,
over
yeah,
again.
and they started over. And so, me and my sister kind of got to see a side of our parents that we never saw before, and it was very sweet and it was very inspiring.
Yeah.
So that's how I was introduced to it. So I knew it was kind of on my heart, and that's something that I felt the Lord calling me to do. So my boyfriend at the time was my current husband, and he was through. He knew all about it. And he had a close relationship with JJ. He was at the adoption and everything. And so when me and him got engaged, I, just I probably didn't have the right heart about it, but I just went to him and I was like, look, this is something that I want to do, whether you like it or not. Like, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And he was, of course, like, okay, like, let's do it. And I did not expect, to get that reaction because he was so willing.
Sure.
So when we got engaged, we started go ahead and doing like all of our fostering classes.
Okay.
So we weren't married yet, but we went through all the classes. We were actually certified and licensed before we got married. So of course I started getting all of the phone calls about placement. So, I kind of told them, hey, I'm getting married. Let's put our license on pause for a little bit.
Okay.
So we were on hold until June, because I was a school teacher at the time, and I was like, we got married in April, and I was like, we can't accept, a child. Like, what are we going to do about childcare? So we put our license on hold until summer, because I was like, summer is kind of a good time for us to, kind of adjust if we do get
a lot
placement.
Easier.
Yeah. So that's kind of how we were introduced to it.
So how soon after y'all got married did you get your first placement?
Okay, so we got married in April. Our first placement was in July. So
oh my goodness.
It was, yeah. So, we were just experiencing all these first, for the first time, like so soon. So, we were just adjusting to, living together, and then it was like, bam, we're parents. Like, what?
Yeah.
So we got our first placement in July. And I'll never forget, we were on the way home from a birthday party, my nephew's birthday party. And I got the call, and we were on the way home, and it was about a 2-day-old little girl. So I got off the phone, and Trenton's like looking at me like, what's going on? And so I told him, and he was just like, okay, like, let's do it. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I called placement back, and I was like, okay, like, we'll take her. So I started making all these phone calls, like, to my mom, and I'm like, I don't know what we need, like,
right, because you're not sure how to prepare, like when you could get a placement, the age,
right,
anything.
Yeah. So I was kind of hesitant, like, are we going to be able to do this? Like, this is real. Like, we're about to, get a baby.
It's not a puppy.
No, it's not. So we got home, and we started getting everything situated. And sure enough, about 2-3 hours later, a lady shows up at our door with a carrier and a baby and drops her off. Yeah. So I think that was the realization, like, we got this baby, we got her out, and we're holding her, and like, she's perfect, she's precious. And me and Trenton just look at each other, and we're like, what do we do? Like, this lady just left a baby with us. Like, we've never, had a baby before. We don't know what to do. And, luckily we have a great support system. So, they were all, very willing to help.
I just know like when Tyler, that sounds so funny because like Tyler and I, when we had our first child, and Tyler's like, you know, when they tell you like you're discharged, you can go home. Tyler's like, they're just gonna let us leave with this
Yeah.
baby,
Yeah.
like, and we had 9 months to
Right.
prepare. Like we
Yeah.
had been planning for forever, so I cannot imagine getting a call and getting a baby at my
Right.
house.
We
that
didn't even have a
fast.
crib. Like we had a bassinet and we were just like, we're just gonna make it work. Like, you know,
Yeah.
we'll be fine. Yeah, so we were prepared but not prepared. And,
Right.
you know, Trenton and I had prayed and, you know, we didn't feel equipped, but we knew that since we were called to do this, the Lord is going to equip us and, you know, with everything that we need to get the job done.
Yeah.
So we had her for a weekend and we got a call on Monday morning. And the one thing with foster care is it's very, it's an emotional roller coaster and you never know what's about to happen. Like,
Right.
there's so many uncertainties. So
when you get her, you have no idea how long
right,
that
and
you were going to have
they
her for.
say that, you know, it's a long-term placement.
Okay.
You know, mom's doing this or doing that, so it's going to be a long-term placement. So of course they say let us check, you know, for family. We don't know if there's any family, but since we got her on a Friday, so they were just trying to find, you know, a place quickly.
Sure.
So we had her all weekend. My sister was over meeting her, and you know, she's just a little tiny baby. She was precious.
Oh my goodness.
And Monday, Trenton, my husband, he went to work, and I get a phone call, and I've been at this point, like I was getting phone calls from caseworkers and all the people. I had already sat through like a little court thing, you know, about placement. So you know, I had never gone through this. I don't know, you know, what's happening. So I get a call Monday, probably around lunch, maybe 10 o'clock, and it was just like, hey, um, a transportation lady is coming on the way to pick up the baby, and she's going to go stay with the uncle.
What?
Yeah, so it was kind of like, wait, what? Like I thought this was a long term, you know, thing, and of course, you know, we just weren't prepared for that. So I was just like, oh my gosh, like she's leaving. You know, we'd only had her for a weekend, but still, it
Your
was just,
bond is so fast.
oh, yes, you are. And, you know, how can you not? Like, it's a little innocent baby, you know, that she was just perfect, you know?
Right.
So I called my husband, and he was working in Panama City at the time. And I was like, they're coming to get the baby. Like, you need to come so you can say bye. And of course, I was a wreck.
Oh, I can't imagine.
And then my sister was there, my mom was there, and we're all, you know, crying. And it was like, we only had this, you know, little baby for a weekend.
Right.
So it was honestly kind of traumatic.
Yeah. Yes.
It was very traumatic. So, you know, the lady came and she got her, and Trenton didn't make it home in time. So Trenton didn't get to say bye. And it was very it was an emotional time. Like we were just so sad. And again, it was only one weekend, and yeah, like you can't, you know, form like a real bond, and she'll never remember us, but you know, we still pray for her, you know, till this day. And I get emotional talking about it just because, you know, that was our first placement. You know, we hope that she's doing well, and you know, so it was just our first, and it was just
hard.
yeah, it was just a really precious time, and seeing, you know, my husband become like a dad for the first time, like, it was very sweet.
Yeah.
So
I think y'all's place where y'all are coming from is y'all have such an abundance of love in your heart from the Lord and from your family. Right. Such a good support system, and that just overflows out of you, you know. And you have so much love to share with these babies who need love and need a home. And that's hard, you know. That's hard to every hope and every dream that you have for that baby, and not to know what happens. I read a Bible verse this morning when I was thinking about you coming, and it said, Psalm 139:16, your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordered for me were written in your book before any of them came to be. And I'm like, that's got to be one of the hardest things thinking about fostering, is that surely God knows the plan for that baby, but you don't. And having to accept that, and having to accept that just like that happened, that you know, you may not have much time.
And I truly believed, like, you know, I'm going to see her again one day. You know, me and Trenton both will. You know, we pray that, you know, she comes to know the Lord, like in whatever home she's in, if she's reunited or with uncle. You know, we just, you know, want what's best for her. And, you know, it was very hard at the time. And me and Trenton were just sad. Like we were sad for
Yeah.
weeks, and it was like, and so then we started kind of second guessing, like, oh, is this really
Should
something
really
we
do
want
this?
to do?
Yeah.
Like, if this happened just for a weekend, we had her for 2 days,
Right.
and we were already like a mess. But something that really stuck with me was, my husband, he was just like, just because something is hard doesn't mean it's not the right thing to do. And he was like, we're in the Lord's will. Like, we're called
Yeah.
to do this. We have to, continue to do it. So that was in July, the beginning of July. So, I didn't get any more calls for, a few weeks.
Okay.
And I mean, it's very uncommon. Like, I was getting 3 or 4 calls a day. And,
Right.
sometimes it would be teenagers, little bit, most of the time it wasn't little babies, because if it was a little baby, we would have said yes.
Yeah.
But, I didn't get any more calls. So I reached out to placement, and I was just like, hey, we're still, available.
Yeah.
And we would love to have, a baby if one, presents itself.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay, thank you for letting me know. And I want to say the next day she calls me, and this was almost a month later. So it was July like 26th.
Wow.
And she was like, hey, Miss Nobles, like, I have a baby for you. And, I thought about you. And she was like, she's, 3 weeks old. Would you guys be interested? And of course I was like, yep. And I don't even think I checked with Trenton.
Right.
Just because, I know his heart's in the right place. So
Yeah.
I said yes. And, I'm calling Trenton. I'm like,
There's a baby on the way.
yeah, I was like, I kind of accepted, and he's like, okay, like, what do we need to do? So it kind of started all over again. And I think with the first experience, again, that was very traumatic. And so the whole time, so this was Sophia, and which we've now adopted. But through the whole fostering journey with her, I felt like, oh my gosh, someone's just going to call me and they're going to move her. And as the days turned into weeks and the weeks turned into months, I was terrified. Like, I found myself growing so anxious when I would, look at my phone and there'd be like an unknown number. I'm like, oh my gosh, this might be the call that, says, hey, we're going to, send her somewhere else. So I was just a mess. And again, it was just an emotional roller coaster. And a lot of people, I don't know, I would go back and forth, and I think it's just like maternal instincts. She would have visitation. So, my husband, of course, was like, oh, I don't want her to go to visitation. Like, I hope the parents don't show up. And kind of in my heart, I was like, yeah, I hope they don't show up too. So, she would go to visitation, and sometimes the parents would show up, sometimes they wouldn't. And when they would show up, I was just kind of like, oh, I'm sad. But at the same time, if they do what they need to do, they deserve to get her back.
Right.
And then when they wouldn't show up, there were certain people in our lives that were like, oh, good, I'm glad they didn't show up. But I kind of felt guilty for being happy about that.
Yeah.
It was just like, I'm just looking at like the most perfect little baby girl. And, she deserves for people to show up for her. She deserves to be loved. And it would just kind of hurt my heart that the parents weren't there for her, and, because she needs that. So
I think that's so honest of you to say, because I feel like I would be the exact same way. When really, like, as Christians, we should want for her parents to be redeemed, to be restored, to get their life together, to be able to be a perfect family for them. But at the same time, like, you're so in love with her, and you want to keep her, you want to provide for her, and you want to know that she's going to have a good life.
Absolutely. So
that's a hard place to be.
It was difficult. And I just found myself going back and forth, a lot. And then, other people would be like, oh, I'm so glad they didn't show up. And it would kind of make me angry that they would say that, because it's like, no, like, I kind of want them to show up, even though when they do show up, I'm kind of sad, so it was just an emotional roller coaster. Like, I just don't know how else to explain it. Like, it was just, my emotions were all over the place. And of course, like, we hope that, the parents come to know the Lord, and we want them to do what's right, and we want them to, get their child back. That is the point of foster care, is, for them to get their life together and take their child back. But, it doesn't
mean it's not hard on you.
Right. Yes. It was very hard. So, I struggled with that. And, my husband was just like, no, like, I'm, glad. And, that, I feel like that's just a man thing too.
Oh, yeah.
They're just like, yeah, we're glad. Like, that's more time for us. So this went on for
So where would you meet? Like, how does that work?
Okay.
I'm curious
Yes.
about that.
Okay. So Sophia was a Bay County kid, so
Okay.
she actually had visitations in Panama City.
Okay.
So I worked a full-time job. I was a
Mhm.
teacher. So a transportation, so like a lady in a little van would come
Mhm.
and pick her up at daycare, and sometimes there would be 3 other kids in the car that
Okay.
they would have to transport to visitations as well.
Okay.
Sometimes she was the only one. So that was also kind of like,
That's hard.
yeah, because I'm like, she's with strangers. She has no idea who these people are.
Yeah.
So I found myself on visitation days getting like very anxious and just
Yeah, worried about them. Are they getting there okay? Are
right.
they
And so I
driving
mean,
safe?
I'm texting like the whole time, like the caseworker, like, hey, did Sophia make it? Like, is she there? Are the parents there? Like, what's going on?
Right.
And then there were multiple times where she would, ride in the car for an hour with a stranger,
Mhm.
get to visitation, the parents didn't show up. So she would
Oh
have to
my
sit there for 2 to
goodness.
3 hours, be passed around the office, and
Mhm.
wait until someone could bring her back.
So at this point, she's still less than one.
Right. Yes. Way less than one.
Yeah.
Like she was probably 3 months old at this
Right.
time. So that was, I don't know, I was just a wreck during those
I
times.
can't imagine
And
that.
so my parents were like, look, why don't we just take her? We'll start taking her to visitation. Will that make you feel better? And I'm like, yes, it would make me feel so much better. So finally, I was able to get up with the caseworker and be like, look, we don't need transportation.
Mhm.
My parents will transport her for the visits. So they did that
Okay.
for a while, and that really gave me a lot of peace. And then I could, ask my parents, like, okay, did she show up? Did they not show up?
How was it?
How
Yeah.
was it? So yeah, that's how it works. And I mean, the transportation, they're very nice, but it's just
yeah.
like, you know,
It doesn't
they
make
don't
it any easier on you.
know.
Yeah.
And, sometimes she didn't really like a car seat. So I knew that she would scream, the whole way there.
Oh,
And like,
yeah.
you're not able to, put the passy in her mouth. So,
Mhm.
my parents volunteering to do that, like really
That's a
gave me a
blessing.
lot of,
Yeah.
peace.
Yeah.
So yeah, that went on for a while. And finally we reached TPR, which is the termination of parental rights.
Okay.
And it was, kind of, a relief. Um, but then family members just started popping up.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So it was like there's 3 sets of grandparents that, want her, and then an uncle. And I'm just like,
And these people so far haven't been in her life at
correct.
all, right? Okay.
So, family members start popping up, and I'm just like, we're not going to lose her to her biological parents. We're going to lose her to a family member.
Mhm.
And so I just felt like all these barriers kept popping up and popping up. And, I was worried. I was so nervous. And I can remember Thanksgiving. My dad had texted me and was like, look, I think after we have our Thanksgiving meal, after, all the family leaves, we need to join hands and we just need to pray, for Sophia. And that meant, so much. So I remember it was me, Trenton, Sophia, my sister, her husband, her children, my mom, dad, and JJ, and we all stood there and we joined hands and we just prayed, and we prayed for the Lord's will. Each of us,
Yeah.
said individual prayers, but we prayed for the Lord's will, and we let our requests be known to the Lord. Like,
Sure.
we told him, like, we, our hearts, but we're saying, like, we want Sophia to be a part of our forever family. And we're praying that, you're going to remove these obstacles if it's your will. And if it's not, just comfort us and give us peace about the whole situation. And after that, there really was just a peace, and I still struggled, like doubt would still creep in, but there was a lot of peace. And I would have to tell myself, remind myself, like, look,